Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Minecraft Myth Busting. It is time to do a round of mini myths again, and in this one I've got 5 of them relating to Minecraft 1.9. If you've not seen mini myths before, it's where we take 5 smaller questions about the game and answer them all in one episode. So of course, if you have your own mini myths or small questions you want to ask about the game, then feel free to leave them in the comment box down below. Of course, we're going to be doing another episode of this in the future. But anyway, let's jump right into it and take on our first mini myth. Our first myth is quite a broad one. It has come to me in the form of many different types of questions, but in general, we're asking if the offhand enchantments are going to affect the main hand attack and vice versa as well. If you've got an item in your main hand, will it affect attacking with the offhand? I.e., will the enchantment of one item be passed across to the attack of another one? So for example, if I'm holding a bow in my offhand and we've got an enchanted weapon on my main, will those enchantments be applied to the bow? And vice versa as well. What if I'm attacking with this one and I've got an enchanted bow? That is generally the question, and so far my testing has shown me that there's probably not going to be anything that's affected by it other than this one thing. So I do have to go over it all over again and double check. But the one thing that I found that is affected by it is something that's actually been in the game for a long time. It still hasn't been patched in 1.9. It's the old looting trick. So if you've never seen this before, you throw a potion at a mob, you switch to your looting sword, and the looting effect is applied to that mob upon death, and that appears to work the same way. So let me show you how I figured this one out. First of all, what we're going to do is summon in a creeper. We're going to kill it with a potion, and you can see this time it didn't drop any gunpowder. But now what we're going to do is switch to the looting sword, and you can see the looting effect is applied because we have looting level 100, and we get over a stack of gunpowder. Now what we're going to do is put the bow, first of all we're going to shoot it with the bow, and you'll see, nothing at all. And now we're going to put the bow in our offhand, and we're going to hold the looting sword. Now when we right click with the sword, of course it doesn't do anything, so we use the bow, and you can clearly see that the looting effect is passed over to the bow attack as well. As you can see there, we've got over a stack of gunpowder. So there's an important distinction to be made here, and that this only works when the looting is in your main hand. As you can see here, we're looting in the offhand. Nothing is going to happen in terms of us getting more gunpowder. Just the one right there. Let's try it with the splash potion as well. Looks like we got none that time. And with the bow, you can see the sword disappears, but no more gunpowder. So this one only works when the sword is in your main hand. So I've concluded my testing on all the enchantments available for the sword, and looting on your main hand is the only one that it works for, so it's basically the old trick that's still in the game. We're going to move on to the bow, but first of all I wanted to show you a quick observation that I made, just something I've not noticed before. But when you hit a spider, they get particle effects around them, and I'm going to assume that's some sort of potion effect, but I do believe that's one of the negative ones, maybe weakness or slowness. Either way, it's just something that I've not noticed before. And no surprise with the bow, none of the effects were passed onto the sword. However, this one I found slightly amusing. It's punch level 100. See you later, alligator. And I think that's pretty conclusive now. We've gone through all the enchantments and the different weapons. So looting is the only one there that works, but it does mean that you can use the looting effect with a bow, which I think is definitely going to have its advantages. This next question is to do with the new beetroot crop that has been added in 1.9 and if they grow faster in rows. Now if you haven't seen the classic episode of Myth Busting, you might not know that growing crops in rows like this means they grow almost twice as fast as when you got them next to one another like so. Now obviously this takes up twice the amount of space, but the thing is that you can grow alternate crops together in rows and they will grow twice as fast. And I want to find out if this is going to be applied to the beetroot. I've got a feeling it's quite likely it will, but of course we won't know until we do some tests. So I'm going to set up a testing world. We're going to have a big patch of beetroots all next to each other like this, and then some in rows, and we're going to see which ones grow fastest. So thanks to the tick speed game rules, setting this up has been very easy, as I've stopped any updates from happening in the world, and of course I can start them all from the same point. Now if you look at the size of these areas, obviously there is a lot more crops over on this side, but what we're looking for is the growth rate, and I know probably most likely what we're going to see is that it grows faster over here. But anyway, let's jump into a time lapse so we can see that happen. So I was unhappy with my test. It showed that the beetroot was growing faster, just not twice as fast. So I decided to scale up the test, repeat it 5 times over for different durations of time, and here are all of the numbers. Feel free to pause the video, have a look at those, copy them, do some math, see if you can figure it out. But personally, I couldn't figure out the right math to apply to this, and my estimate, a guess, is that it's about 10% faster, not twice as fast like wheat is. So I decided to confer with Panda4994 and find out what's going on. The same game code that's applied to the wheat to make it grow twice as fast is being applied to the beetroot as well. But for some reason, the beetroot doesn't grow twice as fast. And my theory is maybe it's got something to do with the 4 growth stages of beetroot as opposed to wheat's 8 that makes it grow seemingly a little bit slower. But what I can tell you is that beetroot definitely grows faster in rows, it's just nowhere near as fast as wheat. Our third myth this video is to do with the end gateway. These appear in the end after you've killed the ender dragon, and throwing an ender pearl into one of them will teleport you to the end island. But my question is, how many of these can you have in the end? Because I've killed the dragon more than once, and I've seen that you can have multiple amounts of these end gateways. So you know what I'm going to be doing? I'm going to take a trip to the end. We're going to be killing the dragon over and over again and finding out how many of these end gateways you can have in the end at once. Well, this is a fascinating view up here, and we are directly on top of the very centre of the end portal to the overworld. And after I killed the 20th ender dragon, no more of these ender gateways popped up. I did kill a fair few more, but what we're doing right now is we're looking directly down, and I'm going to rotate to the side here, and you'll see that as the camera sort of spins around, if you look at the top or the bottom of your screen, that the end gateways sort of line up to the position at the top every single time, which means that they are in basically a perfect circle. And if I speed this up, it might get a little bit nauseous, but if you pay attention to the end gateways, you can see they're always going basically in a circle right there. So that's the layout, and it would appear that 20 is the maximum that can be in the end. So this next mini myth is to do with the swing speed of your weapon in 1.9. Of course, you've got to wait for it to recharge to do full damage again. And if you watch the Do You Know Minecraft videos we've done recently on 1.9, you'll know that haste affects this positively and allows you to swing your sword a little bit quicker. But I'd like to find out the exact measurements of this. So the quickest way to confirm that these have an effect is to use commands. On this one we've got haste 100, and you can see that the indicator there just refills practically instantly. Now if we do this with mining fatigue as well, we can clearly see this has an effect as it is permanently unfilled. So we know that both of them do affect this. Now what I'm going to do is record the swing speeds and use my video editing software to find out what the actual difference is. And we're going to do this with haste 1, haste 2 and mining fatigue, all of which can affect you in survival. So I've done my testing and the results are not going to be exact or precise. We've got a rough idea of what's going on right here, but I think we're experiencing the limitations of recording in 60 frames per second. If we could record in even more, then I think we'd have a more accurate set of results. But anyway, what I want to show you right now is my video editing software. Here is a clip of the timeline, and what I've done is I've recorded from where the attack indicator starts to where it ends, and I've made that an individual clip, and then I've lined them up one against the other, so you can see the clips at the bottom are shorter. That's because that's haste 2 and haste 1. Second from top is the normal one, and the top one is mining fatigue. So they were then all counted. I counted the amount of frames for each and every one, and I put them into a spreadsheet, which I'm also going to put on the screen for you, and you can see here all of the numbers. Now the thing with this is that I tried tweaking around a couple of the numbers, and it wasn't like if you were to add 1 or 2 numbers here and there, then all of a sudden the percentages would line up. You'd have 10% for one, 5 for the other. It all seems genuinely a bit fuzzy, so I've got nothing concrete to conclude in terms of percentages here. But we did learn as well as haste affecting the attack swing speed that mining fatigue does as well. And you may have noticed there are also a couple of clips of the bow in there. That's because mining fatigue affects the bow drawback, but haste doesn't. Interesting little discrepancy there. Anyway, let's move on to our final mini myth. So our last mini myth is a question I've been asked a couple of times recently. It's to do with the tipped arrows, and some of you want to know if the same potion effects will be applied to the mobs in the same way. That might sound a little bit vague, but let me demonstrate to you. So first of all, we're going to summon in a skeleton that's got low health. We have a splash potion of instant health 2 here, and we're going to kill the skeleton in 1 hit. Now the next thing we're going to do is summon in another one. We're going to select our arrows, so because it's closer to the bow in the hotbar, it's going to shoot first, or further to the left. And you'll see that this guy survives, so we have to shoot him twice to kill him. Now if we put the arrow of healing here, you can see it's got the instant health 2 potion attached to it, and obviously that kills the skeleton in 1. But as you'll see here, the effect is not passed across properly. Although you saw the particle effects, this guy managed to survive, so it looks like that one unfortunately doesn't work. Now that could just be a bug, I don't know, but that concludes our episode of Minecraft myth busting. I do hope you have enjoyed it. If you have, leave a like on this video, and of course leave a comment down below letting me know which questions you want answered, what myths you've got that need busting, all of that cool stuff. And of course check out the myth busting playlist if you want to binge watch some more myth busting episodes and learn more stuff about Minecraft. But anyway, that's it from me this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Bye bye.